Congressman, it's so great to have you because you are a co-sponsor and author of the SAVE Act. And right off the top, I want you to respond to some of the criticism that Democrats continue to hurl at the SAVE Act. Chief among them is that this is going to disenfranchise voters, especially women who've gotten married.
Married women, sir. Married women. How are they disenfranchised?
Yeah, there's something baked into this bill. I want you to explain it to us if you would, please.
Yeah, great to be on with you guys. Like, this is going to be a great night with the president coming here to deliver the State of the Union. And I have to say, I'm grateful that he's bringing the men from the hockey team. I got to admit, I was late to church. I had to go to the late service watching that, and many of us were watching that on Sunday morning. So I got to ask for a little forgiveness getting to church late. But look, you know what this is all about? This is all about saving this country. It's called the Save America Act for a reason. We believe in sovereignty. We believe in the rule of law. We believe that only American citizens should vote in American elections and that you should show voter ID. Most Americans agree with us. 85% of Americans, 70% of Democrats, 75% of Black Americans, 75% of Hispanic Americans. Only Democrats in Congress don't get the joke because actually they know what they're doing. They want non-citizens to vote so they can hold on to power. They don't want to defend the sovereignty of our country. So they throw up these lies called Jim Crow 2.0, or that they're somehow going to disenfranchise women. When we've truly structured this bill to allow states to do the job that we always do, allow them to get IDs that they can use and present to demonstrate citizenship or to vote. But importantly, we included a clause in the bill that says if you have a discrepancy in your names, you can sign an affidavit and you're good to go. We have covered our bases. Everybody knows it. Democrats know it. They just don't want to admit it, so they're going to keep lying to the American people. But we're going to take the message to the American people, and we're going to push the Senate to do a talking filibuster and make those guys do the job and defend their position to the American people on the floor of the Senate.
All right, now I'm going to admit something, Congressman. I have been a fan of the filibuster. I'm one of these guys that's like, I just don't know. You get rid of it and you open the floodgates. And I know there's arguments against that, but the president has been clear. He wants this done. And if you got to get rid of the way the filibuster is done now, he's willing to do that. Is there a bone in your body that just gets a little nervous about what that might mean in the future? Or are you all in on get rid of this filibuster and get this done?
Yeah, great question, right? Look, I know the Senate pretty well. I was Ted Cruz's chief of staff and I was a lawyer in the Senate. Look, here's the situation. The filibuster is an important tool to slow down the business so we can actually stop bad things. Democrats almost nuked the filibuster, and Sinema and Manchin, they stood strong so the Democrats didn't do it. I believe they'll try to do it if they get the majority. So I've leaned in and said we should reconsider the filibuster because Democrats want to kill it. But what we're doing right now is intentionally focusing on not changing the rules so we can actually get this done, because I think a lot of Senate Republicans don't want to do it. So what we're saying is just follow the rules. Make them talk on the floor of the Senate. You don't have to nuke the filibuster in order to make them actually earn it. I think we can win this like the Civil Rights Act in 1964 when we forced everybody onto the floor. Remember, Democrats were filibustering. Republicans were trying to have the Civil Rights Act passed, and we kept it on the floor for 3 months. And by doing that, we were able to break their back and get the Civil Rights Act passed. We think we need to do that today. Look, everybody believes that you should do your job in the Senate, the greatest deliberative body in the world. So go prove it. Go to the floor of the Senate, explain to Americans why you oppose voter ID. Explain to Americans why you think that non-citizens should vote in American elections. That's the right path. But there's a lot of people out there who don't understand it. They're trying to take pot shots. One of my opponents in the Attorney General's race, a guy named Mays Middleton, who has no idea what's going on up here, he popped off and said, Chip Roy is standing in the way of nuking the filibuster, because he doesn't know what he's talking about. What I'm doing is working with the Senate, working with the president to force the Senate to bring this to the floor, to force the debate. If we want to nuke the filibuster, I'll talk to everybody about how to do it and the best way to do it. But you got to have the votes and you got to deliver. I want to win. I don't want to just posture.
I imagine that critics would say, what about efficiency? That would take a lot of time, a talking filibuster. But it sounds to me, Congressman, like you're saying the SAVE Act is worth it. This is the time to really force that conversation.
100%. I mean, what is more important than the sovereignty of our country? What is more important to guaranteeing that only citizens get to vote? What is more important than having voter ID so that we can have faith that our elections are being carried out appropriately and that we can believe in them? I think it's the #1 issue. And I think the president agrees. That's why we have the Save America Act. That's why I led it through the House. That's why Mike Lee's leading it through the Senate. And that's what I hope the president will make this clear tonight and call for us to move that forward. And by the way, If we want to nuke the filibuster, I'll sit down and talk about it. But I think we need to force the talking filibuster because it's the best way to move it right now.
Okay.
So, Congressman, before we have to let you go, I do want to
Yeah.
get you to talk to us about this. What's happening south of the border in Mexico? Even before the Mexican army took down that ruthless leader of the powerful Jalisco New Generation cartel, President Trump had already worked the back channels to secure a major win. According to reports, Mexico quietly extradited over 100 top cartel figures to the U.S. in the weeks leading up to the operation. Congressman, what do you make of this incredible operation? And also, what does that say that the fact that we could have collaboration between our nations, accomplish so much, and not have boots on the ground in Mexico? Incredible.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that's literally the argument I've been making, is that this president understands what peace through strength looks like. He's doing it with taking out the Iran facilities. He did it with Maduro in Venezuela. And by doing that, he sent a message to the Western Hemisphere that this is an American Western Hemisphere, not Chinese, not Russian, not Iranian. And by putting pressure on Mexico, but also sitting and working with them, they're now working with us to root out these terrible actors that have killed Americans through fentanyl poisoning, running narcotics into the United States, allowing people to come into our country that are frankly very dangerous, cartels that have killed Americans like Jocelyn Dungray, a beautiful young woman in Houston. By the way, her mother's a great woman who was my guest last year at the inauguration here in Washington. Like, these are the people who are standing up and saying enough. The president is representing them. The president is standing with ICE and Border Patrol, not the radical leftists who want to have dangerous people on our streets. And now the president's working with Mexico, properly taking out these cartels. I stand with him. And by the way, I introduced the bill to designate cartels as terrorist organizations in 2019, and I got, a lot of blowback from Republicans and Democrats. Then the president last year signs the executive order. They're now terrorists. We can go after them. We should go after them. I was right. He was right. And now we're doing good work for the American people.
It's a big deal, and may it bear a lot of fruit in terms of keeping Americans safe. Congressman, we got to leave it there. Good to see you. Chip Roy.